So I tried really hard to get the edit done last night, but I was just too tired. I'm having to edit last week's vlog today, and I hate doing that. It eats into the rest of my schedule. Let's see if we can get the rest of it knocked out in a couple of hours. Once it's done, I'll try to get something else done. And then I'll head to my rehearsal tonight. Tonight's the first rehearsal I'm actually called to.
That's how he was described. He looked like Carlo.
All along he talked kind of crazy.
Nice shot. You're a green one, Mr. Squid. Let's play at the same time again.
Yes, and I walk in behind them and they're pumping notes that I...
Where are we going?
I'm right here.
Am I trying to shoot this? What is our objective here?
Shoot the other thing. Can you turn this around?
That thing? Well, I mean, you're the one moving. Oh, to shoot that thing. Okay. No.
Well, I'm President Roosevelt.
Okay, and at that point...
I don't know where to go now. I am completely lost. It's a strangely addictive game.
Hey in there.
I could only see your eyeball.
Oh, my eyeball is the most important part.
I figured I'd skip telling you guys what I was planning to do today, since I didn't really know what I was planning to do today, and just instead show you the result. I ended up finishing all of the courses on digital painting that I was doing, and I can quite easily say that it was well worth my time. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and show you some of the coolest little tips and tricks that I found that I would have never found on my own. And I actually got a screen capture so that the brightness and contrast wouldn't be an issue. These particular projects were really useful to me. The first and most useful trick that he taught was this brush mode here, color dodge. And to my knowledge, what that means is if you go in with a regular brush and apply colors, it gets a bit stronger, but you can't go super strong unless you change the color. With color dodge mode, in the brush selected, if you paint once and then another layer, it gets significantly brighter with each new layer, without having to change your color. So it's very easy to paint extreme highlights without having to fiddle with any colors or anything like that. And somehow it even looks brighter than what you can get with the regular brush mode, even on pure white. He said something about it getting brighter but maintaining the saturation. I'm still not quite sure exactly how it works, I just know that it works. And you can get some really smooth highlights on these metal textures by doing that. And not just the metal textures, but all of these effects, the lightning, the fire, and this magic here, was all color dodge mode. With this mode, it's quite easy to get some sort of magical faded effect or fire or whatever effect you're going for. Another tool he taught me that I had never used before was this clone stamp tool. And with this clone tool, you can make like this little rivet here and do the shape and the highlights and get it looking just the way you want it to. And then grab the clone stamp tool, grab that rivet, and copy it wherever you want to. And when you're talking about hours and hours of rendering these textures on this gun, these kind of tools are invaluable, saving so much time by just copying and pasting the one you already spent time on everywhere that you needed it. One of the other tools that I kind of already mentioned were these adjustment layers. Again, just so useful. I'll use them all the time now, and I never would have figured it out on my own because they're just not self-explanatory. You have to know what they do and how to use them. So this was the original sort. I just changed the gem color to be green, knowing I was going to add that green electricity to it. But after I was done rendering all this metal and all this texture onto it, I used these color adjustment layers to change up the color and to get this color scheme that I wanted of the purple and green before adding the lightning onto it. And basically how that works is this button down here is for adjustment layers, and you select any of the adjustments that you want. I'm going to choose color balance, and you can change the color balance of the entire object to whatever you want, really. And this here is kind of showing what's visible, Again, I don't know the technical side of why this works this way, but if you paint the whole thing black, so that this is completely black, nothing's showing. And if you paint it white, all of it's showing. All of the effect is taking effect on the picture. So you paint it all black so that none of it's visible, and then you set your brush to white, so you're painting white on top of this black mask, basically, and revealing underneath the adjustment that you made. So you can slowly reveal parts of what you wanted, instead of turning it all white and having it bright and blown out. And so that's how I created this color here. One last trick that he taught had to do with selecting. So say I wanted this part of the blade shaded slightly different than the rest of the blade, which is what I ended up doing. You could go in with the polygon select tool and be super meticulous about staying right on the edges of this sword here, all the way down to the other side. And indeed you would need to divide this part of the sword from this part of the sword, carefully going in between these two, which I am not doing very carefully right now. But instead of going carefully along the very edge of the object, you can go as far out as you want, save a lot of time, basically cut your selecting time down to 50%. Because once you've selected it, you can go over to the silhouette layer, which is basically your object in silhouette mode, and hold down Control, Shift, and Alt, and click that layer, and it snaps the selection to the edges of that layer. So it's important that you make the silhouette of the object before you start rendering it out, so that you can have a layer to go and select that from. That's just a great time saver. And not just that, but if you just hold Control and click the layer, it automatically selects the whole thing. So that right there is a great tool for when you mark out your selection, you're ready to start shading, and you want to make these long vertical lines without worrying about going over the lines. You just hit Control and that silhouette layer, and it selects the whole thing, and then you can paint long strokes without worrying about going outside the guidelines because you've only selected your object. I would have figured none of those out by myself. So yeah, well worth my time. I hope that it could be of some use to you if you are a Photoshop artist, and I'm just super excited to use these tips and tricks on my own work now, moving forward with my own projects and stories and things that I want to paint and make, and it's now possible because of all these tricks that I've learned. I have a doctor's appointment today. I hate needles. I have a mostly irrational fear of needles, and it's not even the pain. I don't like needles. If I ever draw some sort of fantasy evil monster creature, it'll just be like tentacles of needles that it just pokes at you. They're not even big, dangerous needles. They're just like tiny little inch needles. It's mostly just the nuisance animal that comes up behind you. Poke, poke, poke. The hero's like, ow, stop it. I have to get a meningitis shot for college. I made it. Okay, so now that I'm home and all, maybe it wasn't that bad. But like I said, I have a mostly irrational fear of needles, okay? I'm not proud of it, but there it is. So the rest of the day, I'm gonna work on my song. I'm going to finish my song today. I'm going to do that. No matter what it takes, I'm going to finish that song. The recording is not that good, okay? But if it's passable, then I'm gonna go ahead and make a video out of it so that I can go through the entire process, start to finish, so the next time I can know what I'm doing and actually work on making it good. Boop. And there it is, the rendered MP3. That is the song I plan to cover first. I finally finished it, and it's actually not half bad. Of course, by process of elimination, that means it's not half good either, but it's sufficient, which was all I was hoping for. Next, I get to make the video. So right now, I'm on my way to the movie theater, actually. I'm walking to the theater because I don't have a car. They're playing E.T. tonight. Special event thing where they sometimes play old classic movies or Broadway shows. They have these special events called Fathom events.
Hard to believe it's 35 years old. This is Steven Spielberg's E.T., the Extraterrestrial. E.T. is certainly one of those movies that once seen is not forgotten. It's the story of an alien taken in by a 10-year-old boy named Elliot. Then they form one of the great friendships in movie history. Before E.T. became such a hit, director Steven Spielberg expected it to be a little film, the most personal of his career. Here's something you don't often get to say. Man, was Steven Spielberg wrong.
That was cool. Man, those practical effects. It was a good movie. I tend to think I should have been born in the 80s. Anyways, I met with this older couple right after the movie that attended the original movie when it first came out in theaters 35 years ago. Had a little chat about that outside the theater. Talked about how people are seeing more of the classics, and these Fathom events keep showing those old movies and musicals and things like that. That was a cool experience. Hakuna Matata, what a wonderful phrase. Means no worries for the rest of your days. It's all problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata. So today's kind of a relaxing day, taking a break from the go of the past week. And I'm doing a lot of reading because the other day I checked out 4 books from the library, which for me is like, what are you doing, Sam? What are you doing? There's no way you can read 4 books in 2 weeks, or 4 weeks if I recheck them. You might be one of those people who can like read a book a day, and then more power to you, but some of us are slow readers. So I thought I'd show you what I'm reading. This book is pretty cool. It's about a school that teaches arithmetists. The cool thing about this book is how fleshed out this concept of the arithmetists are. It's basically like a circle that you draw in chalk around you, and then you have these different defense points. And I'm not that far into the book. You defend against chalklings, which are these little chalk drawings that people do. And it's really quite interesting. I can't say much about the story because, again, I'm not that far in. But one of the coolest things about this book is that at the end of each chapter, it has a full-page illustration thing where it describes another defense or strategy of these arithmetists, and like how this circle has 6 bind points that you can connect things to or put the circle on it. And of course I can't do it justice just explaining like that, but I like how they put it at the end of each chapter because it doesn't overwhelm you. There's not like an appendix with it all written out and you have the option to go and look at it all. You just, at the end of each chapter, you learn a little bit more about the arithmetists and how they work. I think that's pretty cool. Another one I got was this one, probably the nerdiest book. No, Ready Player One is easily the nerdiest book. It's also one of my favorites, if not my favorite book. But I already read that one twice. So this one is about the struggles between Sega and Nintendo. Back when Sega first came up with Sonic the Hedgehog and was trying to go up against Nintendo, which at the time basically had a monopoly on the video game industry. And it's kind of like a dramatization of what actually happened and all the facts behind it. And my brother came over and asked me what I was reading, and I told him about it, and he's like, that sounds so boring. I'm like, fine, you uncultured swine. Go play your zombie dice. I'll read this lovely nerd book, thank you very much. Another one I'm reading is this. I got this at the bookstore a little while back, and I'm just going through it before the new Star Wars comes out this winter. Let me just read you the inside here. But look how they spell R2-D2 and C-3PO. Like, what? And lastly, I'm reading this one. From what I've read so far, I'm assuming it's intended for a younger audience, but these illustrations are real nice. Look at that. To me, it almost looks like they did watercolor and then digitally made it black and white. I don't know how they actually did it. I'd be interested to find out, but that's what it looks like. Anyways, it's a cool style. It's kind of steampunkish. It's like a futuristic steampunk where resources have run out, so they've gone back to steam power. Computers have failed, electricity is extinct, and the race to discover new lands is underway. Brilliant explorer Alexander West has just died under mysterious circumstances, but not before smuggling half of a strange map to his intrepid children. And lastly, this one. I'm already finished with it, but I had to mention it because it's so good. I'll give you a moment just to read the title. The whole book is like that. For example, near the beginning, we're introduced to this character. It says, in the corner stood a young man of slight build with long greasy blonde hair, a scraggly beard, and a jean jacket with the words never again written on the back. Every time it mentions that character, it uses that full description. For his entire part of the story, he is never called a name, he is called that description. It's great. Every single time. Alan realized that there was a chance that the steps he heard outside the door belonged to a slightly built young man with long greasy blonde hair, a scraggly beard, and a jean jacket with the words never again on the back. Let me show you another example of this writing style. So this is a minor spoiler, but it's near the beginning of the book. That guy's coming after the old guy, the main guy, because the old guy, Alan, took his suitcase full of money. So when he comes to get his money and he threatens them, Alan hits him over the head and they put him in the walk-in freezer. So in the next chapter, the next day, the end of the paragraph goes, "Bad news," said Julius. "Last night we forgot to turn off the fan in the freezer room." "And?" said Alan. "And the guy inside must be dead cold or cold dead by now." With a worried look, Alan scratched his neck while he decided whether to let the news of this carelessness spoil the day. "Oh dear," he said, "but I must say that you've gotten these eggs just right. Not too hard and not too runny." The character of Alan is one of my favorite characters in a book that I've read in a long time. He's just like me in a lot of ways, mostly his total apathy for what's going on. Nothing that happens to him bugs him, except one thing at the very end, which by the way is really well written because you spent this whole book getting to know this character who doesn't care about anything, and then this one thing happens and he cares so much that you feel it so strongly with the character that you totally get it. And like I said, the writing style is just amazing. It has this intense, dry, and sometimes sarcastic humor that I really love. It's third person, but it's written in a way that makes it sound like it's the main character talking. There's a sophistication about the manner of speaking in which he describes things, and a very matter-of-fact way of saying things. And the level of creativity that the story goes to, it goes so many different places. It goes backwards and forwards from talking about what's happening now to this 100-year-old man, and every other chapter going back in time to look at his life and what he did. And he does so much. That's another thing I love about it. They do it throughout history, so there's historical events documented. And I love when books take a historical event and then flip it where something happened to make that event occur that no one knows, and it has to do with the main character. Like if you went back to the Revolutionary War and the shot heard around the world was this guy who was just cleaning his gun or something, and it started a war. That kind of thing. So yeah, great book. I just checked out another one by the same author, and after I finish those, I'm gonna do this one. Copyright 1922. These pages are falling apart. In fact, I opened it up the other day. It starts on page 19. So it should be an interesting book to read, considering I don't know how many other pages are just missing. Those are my books that I'm currently reading or about to read. And like I said, I'm a slow reader, so I'll just be happy if I can somehow make it through all of them before I have to return them. I just loaded my cereal bowl in the dishwasher. This makes me so happy. Haha, 50 cents a piece at a garage sale. I love that. So obviously my books to read list just got a bit longer. Mr. Autofocus. There we go. Good, Mr. Autofocus. So our baking fiascos turned out pretty weird today. My cake, which the icing was an experiment that went wrong. Turns out I made the cake with butter that had been sitting out for hours anyways, so we can't even eat this. As lovely as it looks. One of the containers of Amish bread had Ansel in it, and the first batch of these cookies was just a mass of dough. Like, there were no cookies. It wasn't even done. In short, our baking today was kind of a disaster. Well, when it was all said and done, we didn't do too bad. Oh, by the way, this is for a bake sale. We're not like super sweet tooth pigs or anything like that. This one's ours, and I don't even have to be sanitary. My first birthday card! I kind of forgot my birthday was coming up.